Lady Charmaine, and my guest today is the winner of the 2011 Most Powerful Voices competition. And he's here today to talk about his new project entitled You Are God. I want you to help me welcome back to the show, Mr. Brandon Camphor. Hey, Brandon, how you doing?
Hi, I'm really well, thank you. How are you?
Good to have you back on the show. It's been a minute because the last time you were on was when you won the Most Powerful Voices competition.
Yes, I remember that. Yep, that was 3 years ago now. Time surely flies.
I know I was telling my assistant the same thing. I said, oh my goodness, that was in 2011. Time went by so fast.
Wow.
You've been pretty busy. So I want to talk about all the things that you've been up to, which has been some really good things. You've also been a part of a tour that was with Ty Tribbett. So we're going to talk about that. But first, I want to talk about your brand new project that you got going on right now entitled You Are God. Tell us about it and the inspiration behind it.
Yes, well, again, thank you so much for the support and to all the listeners. My song, our newest song, my group, Brandon Camphor in One Way, it's called You Are God, and I attend a church in Brooklyn, New York called the Brooklyn Tabernacle. Most people know of the choir, the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir, and I've traveled with them pretty much extensively. Last year, I took a missions trip to Ethiopia, and it was certainly life-changing. The church is very heavily involved in missions, so it was my first missions trip, and I tagged along with them. And it was a great experience. I traveled 4 hours up a mountain. Once we got into Ethiopia, we drove 4 hours up a mountain to this village called Gojo. And I'm stressing that part because this village is so, if you don't walk up and down this mountain, you know, the 4 hour drive was so bumpy, the bus almost tilted over. I was fearful. But nevertheless, we got up here, and there's thousands of people who live up here on this mountain, and they are living in huts made out of manure and grass, and you know, it's totally a culture shock. And we went to this church service in this barn that was lit by one light bulb. There was no sound system, musicians, no screen projecting the lyrics to the songs. You know, everything we're used to here. It was nothing but a dirt floor and benches, and one light bulb lighting the whole room. And the presence of God was so strong in that place, and I was so impacted because just as God is in the midst of what we're doing right now, He was there over in Africa, and I was just totally connected to the heart of God at that moment, and just seeing how He's no respecter of person. He loves this world, everybody in this world the same, and I wanted to kind of write a song to capture that characteristic of God. And this song, You Are God, is simply that. It's a majestic proclamation of just the heart of God. He's God and God alone, and the world is in His hands.
Amen. And how long did you stay in Ethiopia?
I was there for 10 days, and again, life-changing for the better, and I'm actually going back this year. I was like, I have to do this again. I've made some connections there with, you know, some of the children in the foster care system there, and my heart is just totally drawn there, so I can't wait to go back. But I was there for 10 days on my first trip.
So for you, how has your life changed since taking that trip, seeing that they only had one light bulb, and you come here and we see our mega churches? I thank God for mega churches. That just shows people are getting saved and going to church. But
yeah,
all
exactly.
the extra things that we take for granted, like you said, the words on the screen, we got drummers and, you know, all the things that we do have. And then we still have people that don't even want to go to church. How did that affect you?
Well, again, I want to stress what you kind of did too. We're not knocking or downplaying what we have here. We're grateful for the privileges we have in America, of course, and I don't want to discount or diminish that. But what it did do for me was really just bring back the focal point of everything we do here, the reason why we have the lights and all of that. If that was stripped away, Jesus is enough. Like, Jesus is the main attraction, you know, and that's, it really just put that at the forefront of my mind and my life, and just realizing, hey, this other stuff is great to attract people, to get them in the door, but Jesus is the real bait. He's the real substance of what we have to offer. He is the gospel, you know, the story of Jesus Christ, Him being sent to die on a cross for our sins. Like, that is what this is all about, and that was what has really impacted my life the most from being over there, you know, just because there was nothing else to draw people, you know. There was no gimmicks, there was no main attraction. Again, it was just the presence of God, and that was enough. And that's truly what is my takeaway from that experience.
So how has it humbled you? Because sometimes we have a lot of food in our refrigerator. We can be so wasteful, with some of our food,
Oh,
and we can
I
go
know.
places and they don't even have the food that we have, but they're so thankful and grateful. Has it changed your mindset on just dealing with
Yeah,
food
it
and
certainly
clothing?
has. Yeah, it certainly has. Naturally, I got to be honest. I'm a pretty frugal person, so like when I spend money on something, I always try to eat it just because I spent my money on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I have to finish this. But my perspective has, been enlightened quite a bit too. Like I'm so less wasteful now of, a bottle of water, especially because I love drinking water. I, I just don't like wasting things, and even clothes. I have so many clothes in my closet I don't even wear, and I've like donated and given stuff away. I'd encourage anyone to take a mission trip if they haven't, and you don't always have to go overseas, to be impacted in such a way. That those are most times where you see the extremes of, the lifestyle differences. But right here, I live in New York, a city where there's like a high rate of the homeless community, and there's such a need for reaching out to people, the least of these, and I certainly have that perspective now, and just not being wasteful, like I just said, of the food I eat and the water I drink and the clothes I wear, just trying to find good use for it because there's always someone who needs it.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Where can people get the single?
Well, the song is online. It's on all digital outlets, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Spotify, anywhere really that your smartphone can access or your computer. It's called You Are God, and it's available online everywhere. They can watch our music video. We have a video, our first, visual representation of the song, and it's on YouTube. If they just type in Brandon Camphor, Camphor, and One Way, You Are God, the video will pop up, and they can enjoy that too. We taped that. We shot it right here in New York on the promenade. So it was a beautiful view and a great expression of his God's beauty in terms of how he created the earth. The shots that were in there were so nice. I actually love the video.
And you also did a tour with Ty Tribbett. You did a Jesus Rocks tour, Live It Loud college tour. Tell us about the tour.
Yeah, that was a few years back as well. But, we talk about that because that was a vision God gave me to our heart is for young adults, the 18 to 30-year-olds, the college group, the kids who are no longer being forced to go to church, but now they have the choice, are you going or not? And, we want to, again, just say, hey, Jesus is the main attraction. It's called Jesus Rock, Live It Loud. We want to show them that Jesus rocks and then encourage them to go out and live it loud. And back when we did the tour, we were fortunate to partner with, Ty Tribbett, and Molly Music did some dates, and this artist named Leah Smith and many other young people who have the same heart and passion for this generation and for Jesus, and that's what we were able to do. We went to many East Coast colleges mainly. We were heavily in D.C. and Maryland, and we were in New York and Connecticut, and where else did we go? I think we went to Chicago, and it was a great experience just to partner with them and people with like minds, and they have awesome music as well. Everyone that was a part, I was a fan of. So that was a vision God gave me, and I'd love to talk about it again, not just because of the impact they have, but just to encourage people who have a dream or a vision. I was 23 when I started that tour, and God honored my heart's desire and gave me all the resources we needed to do it. Step out on faith and believe that God will provide. And for anybody out there who's dreaming of anything that may seem beyond their reach, it's so possible. Faith is the best currency there is.
Amen to that. It sure is. and it's the evidence of things not seen, your faith.
Come on, ladies.
Now, do you have a website if people want to read more about you, if they want to follow you on social media? Can you give us all of your sites?
Yes, of course. We're all over social media. You can catch us on Twitter, Instagram. The hashtag is at BC, the number one way. That's BC as in Brandon Camphor, the number one way, at BC One Way. Our website is www.bconeway.com. And we're on Facebook and YouTube. If you just type in Brandon Camphor and One Way, that's Camphor is the last name, Brandon Camphor and One Way. You can find us all online everywhere, or just Google it as well, and all those things will pop up at once.
Now, Brandon, quick question. I know you're from the Washington, D.C. area. What made you want to move to New York? And also, what made you want to join the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir? So you got there. Now you're a soloist. I read that you're a soloist there, too, as well.
Yeah.
What made you want to move to New York?
Well, again, you're talking about that word faith again. I am a dreamer. I'm a big dreamer, and I love dreaming. I just think there's endless possibilities with that word. And my group is still based in D.C. You know, I go back there about once a week. I get on a bus and travel back and forth for rehearsals and studio sessions, etc. But 3 years ago, I came to New York. We were here ministering my group, and while I was here, whenever I came, you know, I'm attracted to the lights and the big city. So I would always find a reason to stay a little longer after the trip. And so I stayed this one particular time, and a good friend of mine was attending Brooklyn Tabernacle at the time, and he invited me to their young adult service, which is called Transitions, which is tearing up the city right now. It's awesome. But I came to that service, and I was totally, like, impacted and thinking, wow, you know, I love this city. I love this church I found here. Of course, I'd heard the choir, but I never kind of knew anything about the church itself. And so to come and see they had a thriving young adult ministry, again, I shared that's like my heart, young adults. I was attracted to it. So I went home and I just said, God, if you ever open the door for me to come to New York, I'm going to go to that church. And so long story short, 3 months later, a friend of mine, in an unfortunate situation, his mother had passed away, and he was going to Africa to, like, spread her ashes. That was what she had wanted him to do. And so he called me and was like, hey, I'm going to Africa. If you'd like, you can come stay in my place for a month and give New York a shot. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for this. Like, I'm pretty spontaneous. I'm a single guy. You know, I was like, I can just get up and go. And I did. And when I came to New York, I lie to you not, I got off the train, and I didn't know where I was going except the address he gave me. But when I got off the train, the first thing I saw was Brooklyn Tabernacle, the church. I said, oh, my God, if I come here, I'm going to go to that church. And so I just stepped out on faith, and I was like, this must be God. And I started walking to the church. I found out when the services were, and I started coming. And the rest is honestly history. So it was not really a summon to come here and go to that church or anything. I just feel like God ordained my steps, and now, yes, I'm involved there, and I'm so glad to be a part and connected to a ministry with such prestige, but also such integrity and their music ministry. And I'm featured on our latest album called Lovely, the way you can catch me singing a solo on there. And, so that's the story. Sorry it was so long.
Well, that's all right. And what's the name of the album again so people can get it?
Yeah, the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir. It's called Love Lead the Way. And also we just released a new single. It's just a digital single called Redeemed, I Am Redeemed. And that's on iTunes as well, and I'm singing the solo on that. So those are the two songs people can catch by the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir.
Wonderful. Again, Brandon, thank you so much for coming on the show. We want to remind everyone to make sure you go to all of your digital outlets and pick up the song entitled You Are God by Brandon Camphor in One Way. Look forward to having you back on the show.
Thank you so much. This is definitely a sure stop for us on whenever something's happening. Thank you for your support, Lady Charmaine. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, Brandon.